Did I read any books? Did I make any videos? Am I planning to do any of those things next week? Let's find out. Cheers. Welcome back, everybody, to me doing the weekly Navel-Gazing, where I talk about all the books I read last week and all the videos I made last week and all the books I plan to read this week and all the videos I plan to make this week and all of those wonderful things. All right, so let's get started. And before we talk about all of that, there will be a new poll up on the community tab where I give you a number of suggestions for what I'll be going through during the Christmas season. The poll said that most of you want me to do one of those, and we'll get back to the poll thing later on during the rambly part, but the new poll will be up, and I hope that you actually, vote for that stuff as well. Maybe I'll make a quick video introducing each of those series so you kind of know what it will be, but that's more me thinking out loud. Who knows? Let me know if you want me to do that as well, and down in the comments. Anyway, let's talk about books. All right, I did read some books, but not very many. I finished Adama on a reread by Navel-Gazing, and it is still, an excellent book, so good for me, I guess. I also did reread Men-at-Arms by Sir Terry Pratchett because I got to talk about it with Britain and Derry on Britain's channel. So I did reread that, and then I did reread Lucky Day by Chuck Tingle because, I wanted to make a video about that. So I did rereading a lot, and I started reading and haven't finished yet The Technology Trap: Capital, Labor and Power in the Age of Automation by Carl Benedict Frey, or Frey, however you pronounce that name. It sounds very German to me, so I'm pronouncing it German. Mostly because the Benedict is, in fact, spelled with a K, which sounds very German to me. Anyway, so I started reading that. I haven't finished it yet. That's where I'm at with reading. So not a lot of reading because I've been, occupied with all kinds of stuff last week. So we'll see what happens next. I need to read new books, and we'll see how many I'll get through. I'm definitely going to finish the free one about power and labor and all of that. It is still sort of research for the AI video, so that is something I'm going to finish. Beyond that, I have no idea what I'll read this week. Maybe more research to actually get to the whole video about AI, which is one option. The other is I'm going to, find something else that interests me and just do something random. Could also be. Who knows? If you have suggestions, let me know down in the comments. I would very much love to hear those as well, and maybe I'll actually pick one. Who knows? So reading-wise, it's all a bit messy right now. What about videos? And there, I think I was relatively busy and productive last week. I did make 2 videos, one of them on Golgotha by Navel-Gazing. And it's obviously not getting a lot of views and not that many comments and everything, which, makes sense because it is, a video about a book that just came out last week or 2 weeks ago. It is a book that hasn't received any big publicity by any, in any way, shape or form. And it does, generally not draw a lot of attention, I guess. So there is that. But I wanted to talk about it because I've talked about the previous books and I generally think it's a really good book. So I made that video and I'm pretty happy with it. Could I have done more? Yes, of course I could. But that's what it is. And at some point I gotta, actually record a video and not keep thinking about it further and further and further, which is also the case with the second video I made last week, which is, of course, about Lucky Day by Chuck Tingle. Once again, really cool book. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed Bury Your Gaze, and I enjoyed Camp Damascus as well. So it was fun talking about it. I am glad I reread the book because it gave me a bit a better perspective on it than I had with the first reading when it just came out a month ago. So rereading it and then talking about it was, I think, the best thing I could have done there. So another video. So 2 videos, that's pretty good. Then I obviously, as I said, was on Britain's channel on his series, The Discworld Files, where we talked about Men-at-Arms by Terry Pratchett together with Derry from Derry's Read It Before, and obviously Britain, some Okie Dude. And yeah, I had fun. I mean, I always love talking about Discworld because Discworld is obviously probably the series I've reread the most times, possibly. Yeah, I love it. It's one of the most important series of writings for me in general. So always happy to talk about it with someone new, and having obviously Derry, who's a big Discworld expert and everything, having her there, and having Britton, who's experiencing these for the first time. This is just like really fun, and I really enjoy that. Go check out that video. I shared it on the community tab. I hope you have checked it out. If you're into Discworld, go do that. I'll link it down below in the description as well, so you can actually go check it out if you haven't yet. So there's that. So that's a third video, basically. And, of course, I did do the monthly live stream on Saturday, because I'll be gone this weekend, so I figured let's do it on Saturday. I had fun. It mostly worked really well. View numbers have gone down for these over the last couple of months, which I assume is partly because of, summertime and everything, and people being outside and whatnot, and having better things to do. It's probably also partly the fact that my channel changes over time, and it seems that in general, my audience has, possibly dwindled. It's hard to say. View numbers are certainly not that high in general, but it's also a seasonal thing and all kinds of other stuff. So I get it, but I still had a lot of fun hanging out. It was like 4 hours, almost 4 hours. So that was really cool. I am looking forward to doing the same thing in October. We'll see how that goes. I would love to have a guest on again at some point. I just need to either pick one, or have some people go hey, wouldn't that be good, and suggest someone to me. If you have suggestions, put them down in the comments. If you are a booktuber or someone who talks about books and book adjacent stuff on the internet, and you'd like to come on and have a conversation with me doing one of those live streams, let me know. I'd love to have you on. I do really enjoy having people on that, have different opinions from mine, that have different tastes in books, because, otherwise, what's the purpose of this? I feel like, introducing myself and introducing you guys to maybe books and people that you don't know about, I think is the best thing I can do with this specific format. So, yeah. Anyway, I enjoyed that. So, one live stream, 3 videos, not too bad for 1 week. So the question is, will there be any videos this week? That is a good question. See, I have time to record videos on all the way until Thursday, very, very potentially Friday morning. We'll find out about that, because on the weekend, there's going to be a small heavy metal festival that a local music association that I'm a part of organizes and puts together. So that means I'll be there on Friday and Saturday, and I'll have to do some hosting for a band on Thursday evening. So I'll do those kind of things, and that obviously means I don't have time to read books or record videos. So whatever I do, I'll have to do until then, or potentially on Sunday, but we'll find out about that. It also is, one of the reasons, I don't know if there will be a weekly Navel-Gazing next Monday, or if there will be, at what time, and so forth, because I have the dental surgery on Monday morning, so that may prevent me from talking. We'll find out. Anyway, there might be some videos until then. I might, as I said, maybe make a video introducing each of the books or series that I'm putting in the poll for the holiday mass thing, where we talk about a series of books. So just to give you a quick introduction of why I think those books are worth talking about, and so forth. So that might be a good idea, because it's something I can do relatively quickly, relatively easily, and potentially it might actually, be interesting to you and help you with the poll. So all kinds of mechanical, this is how you do YouTube shit, right? Stuff. And I'm really bad at doing YouTube, so we all know how that's going to go. Anyway, so that's an idea. There are some things that I've been thinking about recently that might be worth one of those more talking about YouTube things. I've been thinking a lot about how reviews do or don't do well. Obviously, I just mentioned that my Golgotha and to a lesser point the Chuck Tingle one, the Lucky Day videos, are not necessarily getting a lot of views. But then again, I'm not alone with that. It's one of those truisms that YouTube, book reviews, or I call them discussions, because I do in fact talk about spoilers and stuff like that, right? How those are often the worst performing videos any self-declared booktuber can put on, and there's a lot of conversations around all of that, and I've been thinking about it a lot of late, because I've made the mistake of going back and watching booktubers, self-declared booktubers, and it's interesting how the field is moving, how this specific sort of like area of YouTube is changing over time, what people are calling reviews these days, what people are putting into reviews, what people are leaving out of reviews, that kind of stuff. That I've been thinking about that. I might make a video on that. I just need to get it all sorted out in my head and find an angle where I feel comfortable doing that, because if you talk about like the quality of reviews and the style of book reviews online, even if I don't mention any content creators by name, and I will not mention anyone by name because that's not my point here, people might get pissed off, right? We all know what happened to what's-his-face, Carl over at Read This Book Already, or whatever the channel is called, who just made some very basic comments on like his experience on booktube getting yelled at by people and so forth. So chances are, because there's a lot of insecurity, if you're doing YouTube things, I assume most of us struggle with a lot of insecurity, and partly you need to overcompensate because you want to be somewhat, you have to be slightly larger than life if you're doing YouTube things, because people watch you on, or watch us on small screens on their phones or whatever, so whatever we do has to be somewhat exaggerated, and that can lead to a lot of insecurities, leading to negative comments and stuff like that. So if I want to do that, and I want to do it justice without just being mean about people, and if you talk about things like reviews, there's a good chance of coming across as like an obnoxious elitist nerd and snob. And I've said that before, that I try to not come across as elitist or a snob, because I'm well aware of the fact that I have had access to a lot of education and a lot of reading and so forth. I'm very privileged in that regard. So it's very easy for me to do that by calling someone out where I'm like, hey, you could have done better because you obviously missed all of these points. And I'm like, yeah, but did they ever have the chance or like the skill set and the experience to actually find those points? Because, maybe you're like fresh out of high school, and maybe you've never done anything after high school, like when it comes to secondary education or anything of the sort, right? Like maybe, so there's a lot of stuff in there, and as I said, made clear with videos about the whole elements of misogyny and the whole people criticizing book talk and shit like that, right? Like I'm very much aware of it, and I try to not do that. So if I want to talk about the quality and the style of reviews that are currently coming out on YouTube and on, say, Goodreads, for example, I need to find a way to make that work. That does not just call out people for obviously failing to provide something I want, or failing to provide something that people want to see. And I think there's an interesting discussion to be had there. I just need to find ways to put all of that into, put all of that together, right? And I think this is one of those things that I oftentimes struggle with, right? I've said this earlier today, right? There's a lot of insecurity in here. And I'm obviously a very insecure person in a lot of ways. It may not necessarily come across as that on YouTube or whatever, but because I have strong takes usually, and that is also partly that is just like who I am. I do like strong takes. It's something I feel is helpful for discussion and so forth. But it's also obviously sometimes when I don't have a strong take, I don't say anything because I feel insecure about just saying something that isn't worth actually, that I don't feel strongly about or whatever, right? And sometimes when I do polls like this, the one for you now, the winter holiday thing or whatever, right? Or a couple of weeks ago, I did a poll where I was like, hey, should I make do a spontaneous live stream or whatever? And I need to get better at that, because asking you guys stuff, especially with polls, is kind of difficult, because if people vote on a poll and just press a button, and you have two options, yes, please do another Christmas or holiday season series, and then a lot of people press yes, and some people press no, and unless the people who just said no don't actually write a comment on explaining why they don't want me to do that, I'm just left with the question of so why Is it because they hate the concept? Is it because, they already have too much stuff going on during like the winter season, so they don't want like another like one video per day kind of thing? What is it, right? And it's easy to sort of like start questioning yourself, right? The same thing was like, hey, should I do like a spontaneous live stream? And like 10 people go yes and 2 people go no. It's like, do they really hate the format of live streams, or is it more that people go like, hey, I'm busy on that day, so don't do a live stream because I can't attend? And that second guessing of the audience, I think, is dangerous. It's a very dangerous thing, but it's also something that comes natural to, at least to me, and I think up to a point YouTube does sort of, not force us, but definitely makes it clear that we should do that up to a point, right? That's why you get all the analytics. That's why you get all the statistics of like, who is watching, at what time, what gender, what age, what place they're from, like all of these things, and suggesting AI algorithms suggesting like videos that might do really well, and all of these things are basically like telling a person who's uploading stuff on YouTube. Let's put it this way. I don't want to use the word creator because it comes with all kinds of stuff, right? Like it tells us as people who do use YouTube actively, right? That our job is to provide the thing that everyone else wants. It turns us into content providers, content creators, and that's basically beholden to our audience. And the question is that how this works? Is that how this should work? Because if we sort of put the will of a potential audience above everything else, are we still doing creative work here, or are we just providing something that, AI slop could also provide, right? And that is something I struggle with, because I'm really bad at, making decisions. I'm really bad at second guessing you guys. So I usually settle on like, I'll do whatever the fuck I want and hope that someone cares about it. So when I do ask stuff in a poll, and I'm usually bad at making those polls in a way that, would get me the information that I actually need versus the information that I feel I need. And I'm struggling with all of that in a way, and I just wanted to bring that up again. As I said, the poll kind of, I feel, does that. And this obviously ties over into like when I make videos and like no one watches them. It's like, okay, is that generally because the video is bad? Is that because no one cares about this subject right now? Is that because I have, very clearly slowed down or reduced my engagement with the larger bookish sphere? I left most of the discords. I don't necessarily comment a lot on like other book videos, except for a very few people that I just genuinely really enjoy their content and just really like. So I do that. But beyond that, I'm not as active in those areas, and so there's always a chance that like I failed at the part that is not making videos, but it is the part of like constantly promoting, being active and so forth. And that is something I obviously also struggle with, because I can be obnoxious. I have already said, like, I have like strong takes and so forth. And when it comes to conversations in like Discord servers or in comment sections and so forth, that can lead to a lot of people just actually actively generally disliking me and not wanting to have anything to do with me. And I guess I have to live with that, and I'm that's what it is. But there is always that sort of like nagging voice at the back of my head where I'm like, yeah, maybe if I tried a little harder, it would be easier. Maybe if I was nicer, people wanted to be friends with me. You know what I mean? And that's just something that I think we all have to live with to some degree or other. I don't think that ever fully goes away. I think it's easy to ignore that, go grandstand and go like, well, of course, I only do what I want, and I also don't care about monetization. And it's like, really, do you? Because I think most of us do think about the time and money we put into these videos. We also think about like the numbers we get and all stuff. It's basically impossible to not think about it in some way, shape, or form, because it's the numbers that like YouTube like smacks in our face every single time we open like a browser or the app on our phone. So of course we kind of think about it, and while it is easy to sort of like grandstand about it, I don't think it's necessarily something that most people can do. And I find that interesting in a lot of ways, and so that's something I've been thinking about. And as I said, that kind of ties back to the whole idea of like how can I talk about the quality and style and format of book reviews on social media without coming across as an obnoxious asshole, and actually provide something possibly constructive that could get us like thinking about like what can we actually do so more people watch like review videos. Is there something that we can in fact do, no matter our educational background or whatever, but just like do better, I think. And that is kind of what I need to get my my thoughts connected to, but I don't know if I'm able to do that or not. So that's basically me telling you that, yeah, I'm gonna try to record something this week, and I don't know how much it will be, because as I said, I'll be at the festival, and after that I have the implant surgery for the tooth. Like, one of the reasons I didn't get a lot of reading done last week was because I had like 3 fucking dentist appointments. Like, first of all, like the pre-surgery appointment with like the surgeon for the actual implant thing, and then I had to go back to the dentist to figure out whether I can get a second, because I broke the temporary sort of like replacement thing. I broke that by dropping it on the floor and stepping on it accidentally, so I had to go back and figure out whether I could get one of those again, or if I had to pay it out of pocket, which, shit's fucking expensive. And then I had to go back because, yes, turns out my health insurance does cover a second one, so I had to go back to actually I get like the measurements taken for that, and now I have to go back on Thursday to get the actual replacement again, and then on Monday I have to go back to the surgeon to have the surgery, and after that, hopefully, I have to just wait for like 4 months before they can actually put the crown on that implant. But until then, hopefully, nothing more happens. And I don't have like problems with dentists. I've been very lucky. Both the dentist and the surgeon are really good. Like, I'm very happy there. It's all good. It's just annoying because it breaks up all my sort of like ideas about like a daily routine or anything. So when I have like a doctor's appointment I need to get to, and I stress out a lot about sort of like the stuff around doctor's appointments, where I'm like, no, did I forget something around the paperwork? If I go there, and will the people, in the front office tell me that I have to do something or whatever? And turns out when I went to the dentist, that was in fact the case, because seems I did not get or lose or forget or I didn't find or notice a bill from last time I went to the dentist earlier this year, and they're like, oh, by the way, you still owe us money. And I'm like, oh gods. Luckily it was it was something I could still afford right now, which not necessarily always the case, so I was lucky there. But that's sort of something that's also been on my mind in a lot of ways, is that whole like tooth situation, because it obviously adds to like insecurities in all kinds of ways. And I don't know. So yeah, lots of like me not knowing what I'm doing. At least I did, do some videos last week. Maybe I'll get something done this week, and hopefully I'll be able to talk about books next week again. We'll see how the surgery goes, how my face looks, how if I'm able to actually, do the thing, like actually talk well and so forth. Obviously, I'm gonna, it's surgery. They're screwing something into my jawbone, so that's gonna hurt. And I've, got painkillers and everything, already prescriptions for that stuff. So it might just take a couple of days for me before I'm able to do any of those things. Who knows? We'll find out. So yeah, that's all I have for you today. Let me know what you did last week. Had you fun? Did you read books? Did you watch movies? Did you listen to music? Did you do cool shit? Are you planning to do cool shit this week? Let me know all of those things down in the comments. Like, subscribe, I don't know. Join the Patreon if you feel like it. Do whatever you want. Most importantly, stay good, people. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, thanks and cheers.